Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The sun hung low over the Malibu shoreline, creating a golden haze over the craggy cliffs that overlooked the thundering Pacific. The wind blew through the air, carrying the salty tang of the ocean and the subtle perfume of wildflowers growing on the rocky ground. It was a spot where Los Angeles' elite would go to escape, breathe, and imagine that the stress of their lives could be left behind in the city. But for Brooke Logan, this remote stretch of shoreline was about to become the setting for the most terrible event of her life. She stood at the edge, her blonde hair swaying in the breeze and her silk top sticking to her skin in the late afternoon heat. Brooke had come here to ponder and clear her mind after yet another dramatic fight with the Forestos. Ridge was gone again, split between her and Taylor as always, and the weight of it all had drove her to this peaceful place. She required seclusion. She required peace. However, tranquility was the last thing she would discover. Steps crunched quietly against the gravel walk behind her, deliberate yet swift. Brooke did not turn around at first. She imagined it was Ridge, or perhaps Hope checking on her. She was tired of explaining herself and justifying her feelings. She closed her eyes and took a long breath, hoping whoever it was would leave her alone. Then the hands grasped her. They were powerful, groomed, and fierce, their claws piercing into the sensitive flesh of her upper arms like talons. Brooke gasped as she was jerked backward and her heels scraped against the rocky ground. Before she could yell, a body slammed into her from behind with horrifying power, propelling her forward into the cliff edge. "You have taken everything from me," a vicious, deranged voice snarled into her ear. Everything. Brooke's heart stopped in her chest. She recognized that voice. She knew, even though the wrath distorted it. Luna. Sweet, peaceful Luna, who had previously stared at her with wide, admiring eyes, was now a whirlwind of rage, pulling her to her death. "Luna, stop!" Brooke shouted out, writhing furiously in the younger woman's grasp. Her stilettos skidded perilously close to the vertical drop, sending loose pebbles over the edge and falling into the waters hundreds of feet below. "What are you doing? You can't ask questions anymore," Luna growled, her breath hot on Brooke's neck. "You do not get to play the victim. You have devastated my mother. You have shattered my life." Brooke's mind raced. This was not the Luna she knew. This was something broken and savage. The girl's strength was astonishing, fueled by months, if not years, of suppressed fury that had finally exploded into sheer lunacy. Luna pushed Brooke over the edge with a violent shove. Brooke's arms pinwheeled as she struggled for balance, her scream echoing through the air as her right foot slipped off the edge. For one terrifying second, she was hung in space, with only Luna's iron grip on her blouse keeping her from falling. "Let me go," Brooke begged, tears flowing down her cheeks as she gazed down at the jagged rocks and roaring sea beneath. "Luna, please, whatever you think I've done," Luna shrieked, her features distorted into an unrecognizable form. Her eyes were wild, red-rimmed, and blown open with wrath and grief. "You knew what Sheila did to my mother all those years ago, but you let her rot. You let her die alone. And then you had the audacity to stand at her burial with your false tears. I had no idea." Brooke wailed and clawed at Luna's hands. "I swear to you, I didn't know Lee was—" "Do not say her name," Luna shrieked, shaking Brooke so violently that her teeth rattled. "You do not get to utter her name. You're the reason she left. You and your gorgeous little family are destroying everyone." Brooke's blouse started to fray under the strain, the delicate silk ripping at the seams. She could feel herself falling away inch by terrible inch. Then she heard him. "Brooke." Bill Spencer's voice echoed across the cliffside like a cannon fire. He'd been traveling the upper trail, looking for her after their difficult lunch earlier, afraid that she hadn't responded to his texts. He had seen the two figures from a distance, witnessed the struggle, and was now rushing toward them, his face drained of color. "Luna, stop this!" Bill yelled, his muscular legs tearing through the ground as he ran toward the cliff. Let her go now. Luna's head shot toward him, her grip easing for only a fraction of a second, allowing Brooke to wrench one arm free and elbow her hard in the ribs. Luna moaned in pain and stumbled sideways, while Brooke scrambled backward on her hands and knees, panting and screaming, away from the edge. Bill arrived in seconds, grabbed Luna by the shoulders and dragging her away from Brooke with hard strength. "What the hell are you doing?" he shouted, shaking her. "Are you losing your mind?" Luna attacked him like a wild animal, screaming and clawing at his arms. "She deserved it. She deserves to die for what she has done to my mother." Brooke crawled further back, slumping against a boulder, her body quivering violently. Her blouse was ripped, and blood ran down her arms from scrapes. She looked at Luna in horror, unable to connect the girl she had nurtured with the creature shrieking in Bill's clutches. "Hey, stop this. Stop," Bill shouted, pinning Luna's arms to her sides. She was powerful, but he was stronger, and her struggles gradually weakened as the adrenaline drained and the reality of what she'd almost done dawned on her. Luna's face wrinkled. The wrath subsided, leaving behind a distraught, broken young lady. She went to her knees in the ground and sobbed uncontrollably. "I just wanted her to feel it," she said through tears. "I just wanted her to know what it's like to lose everything." Bill knelt alongside her, his chest heaving, one hand still grasping her arm to prevent her from escaping. He looked across at Brooke, his eyes wide with terror and rage. "Brooke, are you all right?" he called out, his voice cracking for the first time. Brooke couldn't respond. She only pressed a shaky palm to her mouth and nodded, tears flowing down her cheeks as she glanced at the brink of the precipice she had nearly fallen from. In the distance, sirens began to wail. Someone further down the route must have witnessed the scuffle and alerted the cops. The lovely afternoon had turned into something terrible and irreversible. Bill pulled out his phone with his free hand, never looking away from Luna. "It's over," he whispered gently, more for himself than anyone else. "It's over." But as the sun went down and the shadows stretched across the cliffs, none of them could escape the feeling that this was merely the beginning. Luna sat in the back of the police cruiser for 20 minutes, her hands tied and her mascara-streaked face pressed against the window. She stopped fighting. She did not speak. She stared blankly at the ocean as Baker's deputies recited her rights. Brooke stood covered in Bill's jacket, watching as Luna was loaded into the car. Her body still trembled from aftershocks, and her mind struggled to comprehend how close she had come to death. Bill stood beside her, a comforting arm around her shoulders. "She's gone, Brooke," he murmured softly. "She can't hurt you anymore." But Brooke couldn't take her gaze away from Luna's lifeless, haunted expression. "She's Lee's daughter," Brooke said softly, her voice breaking. "How didn't we see this coming?" Bill had no response. He only drew her closer as the cruiser drew away, its red and blue lights flashing against the lowering sky. And somewhere, deep in the darkest recesses of Los Angeles, the ghosts of previous sins arose once again, for in the world of the Forrestus, Logans, and Spencers, nothing ever truly remained hidden. That's not even the truth. Luna had never expected her day to end like this, her breath harsh in her chest, the wind roaring around her ears as she stood on the ridge above the Pacific cliffs. The sun was setting low, painting the rocks and waves in molten orange. It should have been stunning. It should have been calm. But nothing about today felt tranquil anymore. Her hands trembled, not because of the adrenaline, but because of the immensity of what she was about to do, or rather what she had already determined she couldn't resist doing. Brooke didn't notice her at first. She was too intent on the trail leading up the side of the cliff. She appeared focused with her phone, perhaps waiting for a call or sending a message. Luna did not know. She wasn't sure why she had followed her here in the first place. Perhaps she had been looking for answers. Perhaps she had been seeking justice. Or perhaps she was merely fleeing the increasing knot of anxiety in her own chest. Brooke was someone who glided through life with such confidence and grace. She carried stories in her eyes, triumphs and heartbreaks etched into every emotion. She was admired, revered, and feared equally. People listened when she spoke. They believed her. They trusted her. And Luna, well, Luna had always been a shadowy figure. Someone who overheard more than she was supposed to. Someone who carried facts that no one else wished to confront. It had all began a few days before with an unexpected discussion. Brooke had been speaking to someone quietly, frustrated in her voice. Luna couldn't make out all of the words, but she could tell Brooke was up to something dangerous. The specifics were foggy, but the lines between good and wrong blurred the instant Luna realized how inextricably linked the repercussions would be. All Luna wanted was time. It's time to think. It's time to understand. It's time to breathe. But as the hours passed, the rope of fear tightened around her heart. And here she stood, her shadow extending long on the earth, hovering above Brooke with a hush too heavy to ignore. "Brooke," Luna said before she understood what she was doing. Brooke turned, astonishment flashing over her face before transforming into something inscrutable. "Luna, what are you doing outside?" The wind swallowed whatever retort Luna may have given. Instead, something inside her snapped like a dry twig under extreme pressure. She moved before she even realized she was moving. Brooke hardly had time to breathe when Luna's hands were on her shoulders, pushing and shoving her forward. It was not graceful. It was not calculated. It was motivated more by terror than rage. Brooke slipped, her heel catching on the edge of the path. She sank to her knees, letting out a surprised, incredulous shriek. "Luna, what are you doing? Stop." The words boomed off the cliffside and carried over the waves. Luna heard them, but they seemed distant, as if they were directed at someone else. She wasn't sure what she was doing. She wasn't sure what she wanted to happen. She just knew she couldn't let Brooke go away. Not yet. Not until she understood. But the minute Brooke struggled to her feet, fear etched sharp lines on her face. She wasn't simply confused. She was terrified. Something about that expression, that moment of vulnerability, startled Luna back to herself. She moved back, shaking. I didn't mean to." Brooke lifted a hand to ward her off. "Listen to me, Luna. Just calm down." The ground under them was uneven, and the cliffside was narrow. One false step might spell doom. Brooke stepped sideways, attempting to put some distance between them, but Luna panicked again, reaching out as if to stop her from running. Her fingertips brushed against Brooke's sleeve, and the fabric tore slightly from the unexpected tug. "Don't!" Brooke shouted out, her voice intensifying with panic. Footsteps thundered from behind them. "Hey, stop this!" Bill's words echoed across the wind. Luna froze. She wasn't sure how long he'd been watching. She wasn't sure what he'd heard. But Bill's figure rushed toward them, every line of his body tense with fear. Brooke spun toward him, relief filling her features. "Bill, help!" The moment shattered like glass. Luna stepped back again, her head whirling and her pulse pounding hard. She felt the ground move beneath her heel. Pebbles skittered down the hill, bouncing off the cliff's edge and falling into the roar of the ocean below. Bill's gaze flew between the two women, his breath sharp, his visage a whirlwind of uncertainty and dawning terror. "Luna, step back from the edge." "Brooke, come here slowly." However, nothing about this circumstance was gradual. Nothing about it was under control. Brooke's foot slid across the soft gravel as she took a careful step. Luna stretched out automatically, not to push or damage, but to balance herself, to undo what could no longer be undone. Brooke's eyes widened. For a moment, they were locked together. Luna searching, pleading, and Brooke trying to understand, attempting to discern the intents in Luna's trembling hands. Then the entire planet tilted. Brooke slipped first, her arms flying as she struggled to regain her footing. Luna moved forward reflexively, gripping her wrist. Bill shouted her name, his voice strained with desperation. Brooke's torn sleeve ripped again under the effort. Luna felt the weight of everything, guilt, terror, and the awful understanding that her hasty actions had escalated beyond her control. Brooke's fingers touched Luna's, her nails scratching on the skin. "Luna!" Bill roared. "Pull her up. Hold on." However, Luna's grip was feeble. Her shoes sank into the ground, but the loose soil collapsed beneath her. The world seemed to stop for a split second. Just a breath, a single impossible pulse in which Luna imagined she could save her. Then Brooke's hand slipped from her grasp. Brooke screamed as she toppled backward. Time shattered around them. Bill pushed forward. Too late. Luna staggered and fell hard to the ground as the cliff engulfed Brooke. The hush that followed was oppressive. Bill stared at Luna, his chest heaving, incredulity written over every line of his face. He stepped to the edge and looked over, his expression crumpling as the impact of what had transpired fell on him like a shroud.
Why?
He muttered, his voice breaking. Why are you doing this? Luna's throat closed. She could not breathe. Every word she said felt entangled in guilt and shock. She hadn't intended for this. She had not desired this. The world around her swirled in dizzying spirals. I didn't, she stammered out. I did not want her to fall. I only wanted her to listen. I didn't mean. Bill turned slowly toward her, his voice hoarse with pain. You've attacked her. I see you. Luna placed her palms to her forehead, shivering so furiously that she believed her bones would break. I wasn't thinking. I panicked. She was aware of certain things. She was going to. I don't care what you think she knows. Bill snapped. You should have spoken to someone. You should have walked away. He approached her, not menacing, but devastated. You did not walk away, Luna. You pushed her. You pulled her here. You terrified her. The words shattered her. They felt like stones in her chest. I didn't want this, she exclaimed. I vowed to Bill. I didn't want anyone to be hurt. Bill went to his knees in the gravel, buried his hands in his hair, and staring out at the horizon. The waves crashed down, indifferent and endless. Luna observed him, noticing how his shoulders shook with feelings she couldn't identify. Minutes passed. Perhaps hours. Luna did not know. She sat curled in on herself, arms securely wrapped over her middle, as if she could hold herself together with pure willpower. Eventually, Bill stood. The sky had changed from orange to deep indigo, and stars were beginning to shine through the lowering veil. We need to call someone, he continued, his voice flat and tired. Rescue teams. Police. Whoever. We have to tell them what happened. Luna gulped hard. Her throat felt rough. They'll never believe me. Then tell the truth anyway, Bill answered calmly. Because anything else will destroy you faster than any accusation. He pulled out his phone and dialed with shaky fingers. As he chatted with the operator, Luna's gaze returned to the cliff's brink. She envisioned Brooke's last expression as stunned, not furious or blaming.
Shocked.
Uncomprehending. The recollection almost broke her. When Bill ended the call, he did not immediately look at her. He peered out at the water, as if searching for answers in the ceaseless crash of waves. When he finally turned, his face was unreadable. They're coming, he said. Stay where you are. Do not run. Don't do anything else. You'll be sorry. Luna nodded numbly. She lacked the strength to move, even if she wanted to. The weight of the moment, of all that had happened, pressed her against the ground, keeping her in place. Bill, she said softly, her voice shaking. Do you think she's still alive? He paused, not long enough to be reassuring, but enough to let her know he didn't believe it. I don't know, he said gently. But we'll find out. Luna shut her eyes. The wind blew her hair across her face, tangling it on her cheeks. She did not brush it away. She did not move at all. She just sat there, trying to recall how she had landed herself on this cliff, at this time, with a future as unknown as the darkness spreading over the sea. No matter what happened next, she knew one thing. The instant she lay her hands on Brooke, everything changed. There was no going back.